The just aspect of it is actually hugely important for the question of how we actually transition. So a just transition puts the needs of people in the center of attention. It is often described as leaving no one behind, meaning that no one should suffer from the energy transition, that the process should be as organized, as inclusive and participatory as possible. Now, while in the greater scheme of things, of course, all countries need to be part of a just transition, countries in Asia are especially important for a number of reasons. First of all, Asia is among the most disaster-prone region in the world. So Asian countries are also among the most affected countries by climate change. It is something you can feel every day. You feel the rising toxic air pollution in the cities of Asia. You feel the more and more gruesome summers, and you can also see rising sea levels that feed into the usable land. So while globally, of course, everyone is experiencing climate change to some extent and is aware of the need to pursue some sort of change, the effects of climate change will be felt more fiercely and faster in Asian countries. That's one reason. Besides, countries like Vietnam, Thailand, India, or the Philippines are still emerging markets with higher growth rates than countries in Europe, for example. But in order to keep growing, energy supply and security is of utmost importance. So even from a very practical perspective, since renewable energy is getting cheaper and cheaper, while prices for fossil fuels are rising and depend on secure global supply chains, which can actually easily be shaken up, as we learned during the last couple of years, a just transition will actually secure growth and wealth for Asian countries. And in the end, just transition will be part of everyone's story, because a truly just transition will affect every part of your lives, from how we work, to how we move around, to how and where we live, and also how we connect as people. Most of the people in Asia are living in cities, and urbanization is not set to stop. So cities are places where we can experience a lot of our current challenges. They do contribute vastly to CO2 emissions. Roughly 70% of global emissions actually stem from cities. They are partly responsible for climate change. So the transformation is key to adapt, but also cities bear a huge potential for mitigation as well. So being a bit more concrete, one issue that we need to tackle is transportation within cities. Most Asian cities still rely on motorbikes, but more and more also on private cars. While public transport is lacking or is not very entertainable, but meanwhile, a just public transport could be inclusive for women, for elderly, for people with handicaps, for all strata of society, which make it more just while also reducing greenhouse emissions. Another issue is housing. While cities like Hanoi have been growing fast in the last couple of decades, urbanization has led to high density, less and less common areas, less and less greenery. So cities in Asia today aren't necessarily equipped for the challenges of climate change. And again, environmental and social aspects go hand in hand. So what we as FES and our partners are trying to do is to achieve a social ecological transformation of cities that take Asians' urban challenges as opportunities for a sustainable change. I think we as a global community could actually do better. We have a few mechanisms in place. First and foremost, the UN-led COP process with the Paris Agreement and our commitment to stay close as possible to the 1.5-degree global warming goal. We have the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and most recently, just energy transition partnerships were offered by the G7 to South Africa, Indonesia, and Vietnam. They also contribute to a new mechanism of climate finance. Yet all of these processes have their shortcomings. And if you look closely at the national and also subnational levels, there are hopes, but there are also setbacks that need to be addressed. We as FES are contributing to a fair and just implementation of climate action through our partners and projects that we support. For example, we support local NGOs to connect with each other, sharing not only their experiences, but also solutions, and also helping them build their capacities. find common ground and positions that will be heard by local governments, but also at an international level, such as COP. One platform that we have for this is a Just Transition from Asia. We will be a digital event with hundreds of participants, first and foremost from Asia and the Global South, connecting between practitioners, policymakers, researchers, and activists to strive for a just transition today rather than tomorrow.